Start recording. Cool. All right. So what do we have? This is the daily chart. We're inside the same shape, right? I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, which we were like down here in this area, right? I was talking about this general triangle. So if you can't see it, I will draw it for you. I'm gonna use a brush tool for now. So we have this here, and we have this here, right? We have this general kind of wedging triangle shape forming on the daily chart, right? So this is a really, really big shape, but it's pretty important because this is going to dictate everything else that happens, right? One of the obvious things that we can see here is that there was this puncture here to the upside. There's some liquidity sitting here, right? There's some liquidity sitting here, right? There's a pretty obvious level, and we're sitting right here. We're right at 41.63 on the close. So knowing that we put in a high of around 40.88 or 41.88, I believe, right, which is right around this level, the highest area that I'm looking for on the upside, I've called 4,300 a few times. This price here is 43.24. So we could put in some a reach up to liquidity up here, up at 4,300. Personally, I'm probably just gonna wait. I'm gonna wait and see if we start putting in newer highs, right? If we actually do break above here, then I mean the obvious next we're going straight to 4,300, guys, right? So we don't really need to get too crazy. Other than that, I would expect us to return to the low of this range. In this case, this range really is this kind of ascending triangle that we have here. So that's what I'm looking for at a macro level. So I'll clean these up. We'll add in some solid shapes. You can do this in TradingView with Alt-H. Nothing crazy there. We did see post-CPI, right? Thesis play out essentially as I called it. I was looking for downside post-CPI. They came up. I'll zoom into the 15-minute chart. You can actually look at this. Let's blow this up a little bit. So CPI was on, what, Wednesday? So CPI on Wednesday? Why am I mixing my days up? Had a long ass week. But yeah, we came up, we punctured, and then here was that some downside here. So Friday ended up being a pretty good trading session if you traded it. I bought swing puts, right? So I was in swing puts right around here at this price. We came up, and then we came back down, and then we came back up, right? So we ended up kind of canceling out the price action, but we did come down to this. There's no level here now, but there was a level right here at this 41.40 level previously, right? So this was a level that was marked previously. So we swing puts, came up, came down. This is a pretty good example of what the market is going to do. By the way, if you're ever in a swing position, right? People talk about swings, they ask about swings. You have to be willing to eat red on swings unless you have perfect entry. The market, when it does liquidity sweeps, right, whenever it comes in and gets these liquidity levels, sometimes it'll do a perfect, what we call a retest, right? But when they actually go and snag that liquidity, right, that's where people get faked out by the breakout, right? This, a lot of people were probably buying calls or going long right here. But all they were doing was eating up all these stops, right? So the stops for these players, the stops for these players, stops for these players, right? That's all they were doing, right? So they were just eating up all this liquidity to go short, right? And now we're coming back for a retest, right? My anticipation is that we'll actually retest this level here because we already ate this liquidity up once, and we're probably going to come down and eat up the liquidity down here on the bottom side, right? So liquidity down here, here, and here, right? All of this has to get eaten up, right? Why does it need to get eaten up? Well, there's just equal lows here, right? There's too much liquidity here that has not been attacked recently, right? This is the most recent liquidity. There's stuff further back that we could look at. That's just my guess. There's also this one here on the way down, right? So we might stair step our way back down. Not necessarily guaranteed. Now, if we go way further back to February, we can see that we do have liquidity up above, or there's some players up above, right? They've been in the market for a while, so these are going to be bigger players, right? These are going to be people in you know, more like hedge positions or doing more advanced strategies, right? These aren't going to be people just doing binary direction. Some of them will be, right, if they're crazy. But there is that liquidity to the upside. And then, of course, on the super macro, on the daily, where we started, right, there is the top of this shape here, right? So this is that levels back in February. Then we have here, here. So we can attack all of that, probably coming up pretty deep into this area. And then we'll come in and attack this upside if we do go for the top there. So what I like to do on Sundays is I trade quite a bit on Sundays, actually, and you guys might see. I think the pre-market on Sunday is one of the best sessions for futures, bar none. Obviously, during the week is great too. But what's going to happen is at 6 p.m., we'll probably put a gap in. I would almost say guarantee it, but you can't guarantee anything. We're going to put in a new week opening gap, right? My guess is we're probably going to gap up like right here or something, and then we'll come in and fill this gap and then do some shit like this. I don't know. That's one possibility. But we'll put a gap in, and I like to play the gap closure, so that's a very solid trade. Just don't enter too early. One of the most common things that'll happen with a gap is say we open up here, right? The price will come down, and then people will go short. They'll get in a little late. They'll go short here, but then the price will come here. They'll get shaken out, and then we finally come and close the gap. So the gap is not going to be closed immediately. I'd say 9 times out of 10, this opening gap will get closed, but they're going to try and fake people out before they close the gap. But it closes pretty fast. So that's a solid trade for you. There's a good amount of edge on that one. What else? The CPI numbers came in a little bit better, but on a macro scale, guys, I mean, I'm very attuned with the real estate market and all that. I think the numbers are mostly bullshit right now, and we should really just focus more so on structure and looking which way we're gonna go. I'm hesitant on upside, like macro huge upside, until we actually have like favorable market conditions on the macro scale, right? There's still too much uncertainty, right? Outside of like a few good things happening, right? If you actually remember the bull run that we were in, the market was just all positive sentiment, right? And until we get to that, we're not going to have a bull market. There's too much uncertainty for us to be in a bull market, right? So the world isn't falling apart right now per se, but there's still a huge amount of uncertainty in the market, too much so for us to, you know, think we're going to get to 5,000. I saw a question about going flat. I guess you deleted it, but feel free to re-ask it again. I missed it. So let's fill in the rest of or any questions so far, thoughts before I move on from that? The voice is open too if you want to. Oh, fast. Yeah, that's within hours. So can I find an example? Can't really find an example, but yeah, within hours. Prior to 3, yeah, definitely prior to 3 a.m. I do mean prior to 3 a.m. If it doesn't close before 3 a.m., then I would definitely use that 3 a.m. Influx of volume to go ahead and take that trade. So I'll be waiting today. I'm actually filming a podcast, so I won't be trading right at 6 today because I have to be there at 7. But I'll be watching and I'll post my thoughts based off of what happens there. In regards to this session on Friday, let's go to the 7 minute. So the 7 minute is one of my favorite time frames, new time frames that I've been using. A lot of people trade on the 3 and the 5. Those are a little too fast for me. The one caveat there is that I do watch the 1 minute pretty often to try to get a heads up look of where my 7 minute bars are going to close. So I have a very fast time frame, and then I have a slower time frame with the 7 and the 15. Obviously, I talk a lot about the 15 and taking trades on the 15. I think it is one of the best time frames to trade on in general. If you see a double bottom or something on the 15, you should take that trade all day. But let's go to the 7 minute and see what we saw in this session. So this was a trade that someone asked me about right here, right, where we had this rounding over at this price here, which I'll mark with in this dynamic level in white. So we have multiple bars, right? We go from long full-bodied candles to candles with bigger wicks on both sides, right? Turning into doji candles. Got a shooting star here. Aside from the individual candles, just think about this picture holistically, right? We have strong price action going into weak price action. That's really what it is, right? More indecisive price action. And it's indecisive price action over multiple candles, right? So the more that we start to put that in and the more that these candles start to reject the level, I need to start thinking for a reversal. Now we get this full-bodied candle here after the shooting star. There's a ton of ways you can think about that narratively, but I've already decided to go short here, right? This price here, we can also see that there were some rejections here. I think this was also around the POC on this day. I don't have the price up, but if we actually look at the structure here, there's, aside from the closures of these candles over here, there's not much here like definitively structure-wise. It's kind of a weird price. It's just a congestion level, right? So there's a lot of confluence in my mind to go short. Statistically, I don't know what the odds are that works out. It did in that case. But these are the types of things that with experience you can start to see. If I put on the here, yeah, we can see that there's a high volume node here, and there's a little bit of a volume node here on the volume profile, right? So there's a ton of confluence at this time. I took that trade, and that was like a 400%. That was actually a put. One of the few times I've day traded puts here recently. I haven't done that in a while. With that strong green candle, why would I still go short? Because you never make a thesis based off of one candle. That's probably one of the hardest things to do as a new trader, especially on a short time frame. If this was the 4-hour chart, then sure, yeah, if you have a huge top wick, you can go short, right? Or something like that. But this is a 7-minute chart. Let's go to the 15 here. So if I look at this on the 15, this is what this looks like here. So we're coming up to this level where I know there are some high volume nodes, and we put in this weird candle here. So I have all of these time frames up, by the way, when I'm trading, right? I'm not just looking at one. I have the 15 open, I have the 7 open, I have the 1 minute open on Ninja, right? So I have all these different angles into the market, and it's just getting weaker and weaker on every time frame. And the key here is that you're never certain, right? So I'm always playing odds. It's really just like it's poker, right? The odds of us blasting through the high volume nodes after these rejections, right? We put in this one candle, right, to get us up here, but they're probably just loading the boat to go short here. That's all that is, right? There's tons of ways you could think about it. doesn't really matter how, as long as you have a system that gives you confidence when you see these rejections of this level. Then the question here is like, okay, where are we going short to? How long do I hold this trade? So I'll add in, let me just actually do the visible range. It'll be a little bit easier here. So we see this node down here, which is right around the value area low, which is just shown by being grayed and grayed out. I basically went short and was looking for, I think I actually was looking for this cliff here. So I didn't hold down to here. So this would be going from this node to this node, right? Obviously the trade was in here, but I got out right around this volume cliff on the volume profile. I could have held a little bit longer. Obviously there is structure down here, right? Could have played to the closure here. Would have gave me a few more points, but you know, not a perfect trader, just a profitable one, which it was good enough for me. So that was a solid trade on the day. Obviously, this sell-off here, if you caught this, was an awesome trade. I was in a meeting, so I missed that completely. Or actually, no, I was asleep. Yeah, I woke up at 10 a.m. on Friday because I had a crazy-ass week. So I missed all of this. Well, I missed the run-up at least, which is lucky because I probably would have sold my swing puts if I saw this run-up, to be honest. May have got spooked out, but I didn't. So sold those for a profit. What else? So something else I want you guys to be abreast of is the 1 minute. And I hesitate to even show this to you guys. Because trading, if you're going to scalp, which I know a lot of people like to do, the 1 minute's a great time frame for scalping. And let's just get rid of this. I want to show you guys something that might be hard to see here. Right, so we have a level right here. We have this channel. And we also have this level here. And there was even another channel in here when I was trading this that I can't remember. I think it was like somewhere in here. But I essentially was on Ninja. I was scalping the crap out of this. And we basically have this range that we were just staying in, right? So I projected these rays in Ninja, and I was just playing both sides of this. Once I saw this here, and this might be hard to see, I know, but I saw this on the upside, and I just knew from experience that once we got here, we were going to come from here all the way back to the bottom. And so I took this short from 41.65 down to 55. On the higher time frames, this doesn't look like anything. It just looks like a mess. But if I get rid of all of these rays, we can see that this is putting in kind of this oval shaped pattern here, right? So very, 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 very technical trade, but it certainly works. We also had this consolidation into the sell-off, and so I was really just looking short side here for us to keep kind of staircasing down. We see another kind of channel form here, right? You could play that one, another solid shape. This is just congestion. I would not play that. Another one form here, right? You could play that. So always be looking for edge. I encourage you to really, really look at these charts, guys. Just look, you know. So much of this is, you know, no one taught me any of this shit. You just got to look. You just got to look and really, really see what you can find to see what works. Sim trade it. Yeah, I mean, this oval, you're going to, especially on ES, right? I trade ES a lot, but like this oval-y thing, you're going to see it all the time, especially now that I've called it out to you guys. You're going to see it a lot. You're going to see it in different shapes. It's not always going to look like this, but you're going to see it. And this is an oval that broke to the downside, right? You might be able to see it, but we say this is an oval here. And then right around the 50 fib, or halfway through the range, we started ranging to the bottom side and we broke down. You could predict that coming if you just looked, what happened before. We had a strong sell-off, started breaking to the downside, and we were seeking out, this 4140 anyways. So I can give you some more edge there. Let's take a step back, though. I think that was where, let me look at the list of things I want to talk about. Risk reward. All right. I'll post the levels later or whenever. That's not too important. You guys can do your own levels too. Risk rewards on trades. I talk about all the time. It's something I still see people talk about, and just like how long you should hold trades, holding winners, holding losers. Let's use this trade as an example, this short that I took here. We'll zoom back out so we can actually see it. If I put or actually on this trade, I had this was a put trade, right? But I had a really tight stop on this one. My stop was probably right around 161. Versus a lot of my trades, my stop was like 3 or 4 points out. But I had a really tight stop on this one. So let's just, for the sake of example, let's imagine this is a futures trade. So I get in at 160 or 159.25 with a 161 stop. So I'm risking 1.25 points to make, I don't know, let's see, I think I got out right around here to make like 8 or 9 points, right? That's a really good RR. That risk to reward only exists if my stop is entered when I make the trade. You can't retroactively calculate risk to reward. It also doesn't really work if you're always moving your stops around, right? So what I'm trying to say shortly here is you need to have a thesis, and you need to know how much you're going to risk on a trade when you enter the trade. It's probably the biggest mistake I see people make is the trade goes against them and they're like, well, I'm going to hold and see if, it's like, no, just let it go. When you have a plan, it's easier to let things go. The reason you hold on to losers is because you have no plan. Because you have no plan, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't have an idea of what's going to happen, and so anything that does happen, you're trying to adjust for. But just let it go. Like, just lose the money. Just lose the money. Allow yourself to lose money. Like, it is okay. Lose the money and take another trade, and you'll make some money, right? Hide your P&L if you're afraid of losing money. Don't look at your P&L. I don't look at my P&L at all when I trade. I just have it points to look at how many points in profit I am, and actually have my P&L minimized because I know that it just will tilt the shit out of me sometimes, especially if my first trade on the day is red, which isn't uncommon. Sometimes I'm just wrong. I'll have 3 profitable days in a row, and you guys would never know that I started out red. Take a scalp in the wrong direction. Oh, now I'm 1 point red. It's annoying, but it's not a big deal, right? So that type of stuff can help. What else have I been looking at? Silver. So I randomly was just poking around silver, and I might start trading this. Silver is an interesting asset class. Why? Well, there's just a decent amount of structure here. That's all. There's no reason. I don't know shit about silver. Don't really care about it as an asset. But I was looking at the charts, and I'm probably going to start posting levels on silver. So look out for that. Its tick is 0.005. So it's a really, really small tick. Each tick is worth... I can't remember. I think a point is worth $5,000 though. So it is a highly leveraged futures contract, silver futures. Any thoughts, more thoughts, questions? how's everyone been doing? Has everyone here been trading? What have been your guys' biggest kind of hurdles so far on your trading adventures? I'm gonna volunteer someone. All right, I can see you guys furiously typing. Took last week off vacation with the family to deep dive. Nice. Yeah, taking a break is good. It's good to take breaks. Going on a nice winning streak and blowing it in one day. Revenge trading. Yep, so if you suddenly change your position size, say you go from 1 ES to 4 ES, you know, it's only going to take one trade to blow out like days worth of work. If you do leverage up, my advice is to leverage up incrementally. The math on going from, we'll use MES as an example. If you take 10 trades with, 3 MES, your average trade size is $15, right? 15 times 10 is $150. You add another one, it goes up to $200. And then $250, et cetera, right? So it's okay to scale up just linearly at first, because if you scale up exponentially, your losses are going to be exponential as well, which you don't want to do as a new trader. That's kind of just a gut thing too, though. I mean, eventually everyone's going to make the decision to scale up. That's why journaling is so important. Having a general plan, sticking to rules. If you don't have your rules written out, like I have a whiteboard right next to me with a ton of stuff written on it, a ton of different thoughts, my own rules. If you don't have that, you're just doing yourself a disservice, right? Especially if you're not profitable. The idea that like you could take shortcuts and not do all this little stuff, and still be successful, it's possible. But if you're not successful and you're not doing those things, then it doesn't make any sense, right? So definitely do those things if you're not doing them. All the tedious stuff. I was just before here, I was a minute late. I was eating, there's a place around the corner where I get French toast every Sunday. They see me there all the time. I had my iPad with me, and I was journaling. I was journaling my thoughts on the week, how I felt, some of the things that I want to work on, and how my trading was going, right? Tedious thing, don't have to do it. I could have just woke up and did nothing, but those little mental exercises are what makes a difference. What is... Still worried about losing gains. I'll close a position even though I think I'm right with my entry. It's making me doubt my entries. Like maybe I shouldn't be in any positions. I encourage you to share your trades. Just share some of your trades like during the week, and share your bracket, right? So every trade you should have a bracket, right? You should have a stop and you should have a take profit level. One of the reasons I teach people on the 15, even though I trade on many different time frames, the 15 is where I always lever up, and it's where you can hold the longest, right? So here's a way to think about it. If I wait, well, let's use this 4-hour chart, actually. We're on the 4-hour chart. We see all these rejections on the 4-hour chart, right? And I get in. I know that on the 4-hour chart, every bar is 4 hours. And this is, let's just look at this time frame here for all these rejections to form. This is 14 days. So it took 14 days for my setup to appear. How long should I wait for my thesis? Now, I don't have an exact answer for you, but the point I want to make is that if you're waiting on the 15-minute time frame for a setup and it takes 2 hours, then you should be willing to wait at least, an hour for your thesis to come through. So if you're waiting for X amount of time for formation and you get shaken out in a few minutes, then you just got to take a breath, take a step back, and really look at the bars for what they are, right? So if I was taking a trade off a 4-hour chart here, I need to be able to wait a considerable amount of time. I mean, this trade took 5 days to play out, right? From a 14-day setup. And if I would have held even longer, 14 more days, you can see I would have got the bottom. But if you get shaken out, in the first few candles, then you're not really trusting, the analysis that you did. So a lot of that is having a plan, thinking about it, say it out loud to yourself. You're probably going to feel crazy, but if you see a setup, if I see a bunch of rejections here, and I go short for a little scalp, you got to just sit in the trade for a little bit. But yeah, trading with fear, it can be caused because your positions are too big, right? So if you're trading with larger positions because you're trying to get a quick little win in your P&L and boost your P&L, my advice to you is stop trying to take shortcuts, Small positions, patience, the big trades will come. They 100% will come. But you're not going to get those until you have a little bit more confidence. I think you covered this on another video where a winning streak can sometimes conceal poor trading because someone starts caring more about keeping it alive than breaking rules. So they do stupid shit and get away with dirty wins until the streak ends with a big bang. Yeah, I don't know if I talked about this exactly, but I do talk about how all emotion, euphoria, is just as bad as fear, right? Because you could have a huge win. And here's the thing about making money, guys. Take any trade where you won. You could have made 10x more money just by 10xing your position, right? The profit you make isn't a factor of your skill. It's a factor of position size. All right, now I'll say that again in case it didn't stick. The amount of money that you make and lose is not a factor of skill. It's a factor of position size, right? You need to be skilled at trading so that you don't lose on any given position, right? And you can protect your capital. But position sizing and edge is where you make your money. So if you're fooled, right, you go on a winning streak, you get lucky 3 times, and you suddenly change your position size, right, you're going to get smoked by the math, right? Because the money you made, again, isn't a factor of your skill. It's a factor of position size. If you want to make 10x money this week, just 10x your positions, right? I just hope your win rate's good enough for you to survive that. That's all it is. So there's just a lot of thinking about your psychology and what it actually means to be a good trader that I think a lot of newbies miss. So many people, and I see this all the time in every Discord that I'm in, they're on the 3-minute, and this I definitely talk about, and it's every single candle that forms, every single one, they're like, oh, now it's going to do this, oh, now it's going to do this, or now it's going to do this, or now it's going to do this. And what I will do is I will have a thesis I will set an alert and like I will just go do something else. I'll still be on Discord, but I'll just be like watching YouTube. I'll be working. I'll go get lunch, right? Because I know my setups take time. Like this setup here, they take time, right? And so it's like, why spend your time watching for all these setups unless you're doing these small scalps, right? These things take time. This isn't like an hour of time, right? So there's no reason to look at every single candle. But a lot of traders think that being a good trader is being able to predict exactly what the market is going to do next, and it's not. Being a good trader is basically being able to go and every once in a while have a thesis, put some risk on that thesis, and make money from it. That's all it is. You could take 2 trades a year and make $7 million if you were good, right? But I would say most... What the fuck? Got a bug on me. Most traders are obsessed with trying to read every single bar, and they're obsessed, and they focus on that instead of on ways to grow their P&L and protect their P&L too. Right, that's what it means to be a good trader. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten smoked by my own arrogance. You know, I lost $500,000 trying to go for $1 million. I should have just took my $500,000. It happens, you know. Doesn't have to happen to you, but Titus, why are you screaming at me, bro? My cat's going crazy. I'm just filling out the rest of these levels. Kind of just eyeballing these here. I'm gonna turn off the volume profile. It's kind of messing me up. This area down here of congestion has always been a pain for me. One of the interesting things when you guys do levels is sometimes it'll be evenly spaced, sometimes it'll be heavily congested like this. Sometimes I'll leave an area open just so I can read it, like during the day. It's a mixed bag. There is no one approach. Sometimes I'll try to do fewer. So I don't always put all that in my notes. I just share my levels as they are. I encourage you guys to use them. I use them. But also do your own levels, right? Some of the bigger obvious levels should match up. But even if there isn't a level, right, and we'll just use this as an example, like I'm still going to play this structure, right? There's not a level there, but my eyes are open. Like my eyes are wide open to see, you know, is there a high volume node here in the volume profile? The only reason I'm not putting a level here is, you know, we haven't cleanly tested it too much, you know, like we're here and there's a little test here, but it's been wicked through a lot. It's been broken, but my eyes are still open, right? So think when you're trading, just because this isn't an air gap, like we're not going to fly through this. There's just not a clear price. Like here, we've came down to here pretty cleanly. I could adjust this. There's just not a clear price here that's been respected, right? Like some other price areas. Even this top side, right? Like we've been punctured a few times. So when we come up to here, I'm just looking and I'm saying, okay, this is a level for sure, but it's something that I probably need to watch the order book for this one versus a different level. What else, guys? Questions? Is this helpful? You can use your mics, by the way. I just didn't want the audio leaking while I was chatting, but you can feel free to speak if you want to speak. Thoughts on NVIDIA? Thanks, folks. I have not looked at this ticker in a while. I used to day trade NVIDIA every day, actually. It was great for my P&L back in the day. Let's look at the volume profile on this structure here. POC right above this gap. So I'm using the visible range volume profile, and I specifically put the price where we had this breakout. It's kind of just a gut thing, but let's put some levels right on these high volume nodes and see what we get. It's a very obvious level here. So we have this gap. The POC is down here. I would expect this to go down. You know, we have kind of this shape. It's probably gonna go like this. That is my 2-second analysis. Just from looking at charts a lot. So I anticipate maybe back down to the POC. You know, the thing with stocks versus futures is with ES, we can just think about the market holistically. Like with NVIDIA, you need to be a little bit more in tune with their business, right? Not on the day-to-day level, but certainly on a macro sense, right? NVIDIA is hot right now, so thinking of AI, like I work in tech, I know the space very well. AI is taking off. A lot of the computational models and AI models use GPUs, so NVIDIA's like B2B business is probably on fire right now. Just selling data centers full of GPUs, right? I built a few ML models in my software consulting days, and I spent time like buying compute and stuff like that. So no idea how important that is to them right now if it's already priced in. But, you know, we have this little micro range that they're bouncing in. You could play this. But I would either look, I mean, if we break to the downside, I would look for us to come down to this 203 level. I'm just going to put an alert. Look for POC at 203. I'll take a trade on that since I'm here. And if we break to the upside, look for range high, you know, and I'll probably never look at this until these alerts fire. Do you ever get out of a position early for a loss prior to it hitting your stop loss? Negative. The only time I would get out of a position earlier prior to it hitting my stop loss is if it was just a stupid trade, and the only reason I got in was, say somebody said something and I got in because they said something, I'd be like, wait a second. I'm not going to just follow, and so I'll just close the trade. I'll close trades early that are green for the same reason, right? If I'm ever in a trade where I'm not sure what's going to happen, right? If I ever feel unsure, I'm just like, I don't know. I'll just close it, right? And I'll just wait. But I never close a trade because it's red. A lot of my trades start out red. You know, that's okay. That's what the stop is for. Let's zoom in a little bit on NVIDIA before I leave this chart. Wow, they gap all over the place. An interesting stock. I mean, this is kind of a P. The skinny-ish belly on the volume profile. But 𝐦𝐤𝐤𝐿. Everyone's welcome 𝐷_WILD to the force. Love to see it. I'm also thinking of doing some pre-market or overnight session streams too. I might do that. I was going to do streams at the open, but I'm one of the most senior salespeople in my position, and this quarter has been nuts for me. So, unfortunately, I have not been able to achieve that goal. But since I do trade overnight, I'm sure people are busy. I might just hop on anyways and stream. But that's really it, guys. Any other tickers or stocks you want me to look at? I will share this with you all. Let me go back and rename this to April 16th. Copy this link, put it at market levels, trading floor. I'll share the NVIDIA ones. Just give me 1 second. Oh, was I not on the right ticker before? What ticker was I on, guys? That was not NVIDIA. All right, well, this is NVIDIA. I have no idea what ticker I missed. I just started like analyzing this stock, and I have no idea. Can I see my history? It's not gonna, I have no idea how to see my history. Interesting. I'll figure that out. Well, let's look at NVIDIA for real then. So let's go to the 1 day. POC is still down there. Was I looking at an NVIDIA? I'm so confused. POC at 169. I feel like I was, but just on some weird, a different ticker or some shit like that. I'll share this after I redo this, but it looks like I was. But yeah, I'm still looking for, I would still look for downside on NVIDIA if I was an NVIDIA gambler. Interesting stuff. We'll just put some here. Cool. Well, I'm going to call that a stream, guys. I appreciate you all hopping on. If you have friends or anyone else who's interested, please have them join. I've been super duper busy, so I'm going to try and post more of my trades in the chat. Also, check out Soul's Discord if you're not there. I know he streams every single day. I hop in and out of there too, just because there's a lot of folks over there. But when I do start live streaming again, I will let you all know. Have an awesome Sunday. Journal, write down your dreams, write down how you're going to get closer to those. It's super duper important. I know it can feel weird and cliche. It's stuff I do all the time, guys. Like it is so important to put into words, on paper or visually, the things that you want to do with your life, because nobody else is going to do them for you, right? The only thing everybody else is going to do is tell you what they want for you, which might not be what you want for yourself, even if they mean well. So make a plan, get after it. I will see you on the flip side. My name's Forrest. I invest stuff. You all should too. Peace.